Frugal Dorn. There's another chapter that I know about that remind me of the Black Templars, except instead of being like really fucking mean, they're called the Dark Angels. And basically, first off, instead of being black and white, these guys are like a dark green, kind of like my ghillie suit. Yeah, my ghillie suit color, right? And most of them are bulwarks. To me, it seems like they're bulwarks. And from what I heard in this chapter, they don't speak to people about anything. Like, I don't know if you can converse with your fellow chapter marine, your fellow brethren, but like, all I know is when you get orders, you just told something and then you do it. and you don't speak to anybody about it, what you're doing. You just go and do it. If there's other people that are going to join you on it, then other people are going to join you. But that's all I know about the Dark Angels. And that probably makes me as well versed into the lore as probably its own chapterman. So there goes that. So after that little brief synopsis of the Dark Angels, I did leave some important crucial details out of said chapter's history. So during the Horus Heresy, so basically during this time, Horus was like, hey, let's make sure that these chapters are split up everywhere. The original Dark Angels at the time, they were like, all right, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna defend the Emperor, so we're gonna stay here. However, there was a second kind of like sister aspect of the Dark Angels. One was praised for its fighting capabilities, and they became so like secretive about it that they would not share their secrets about their combat experience. And I think those were the ones that eventually turned to chaos. So, however, before we get into that, I can't even be telling you any of this information. The other information I told you was absolutely, probably publicly allowed. This information I'm about to disclose to you about said Dark Angels is highly forbidden. So please, never speak of this in front of a Dark Angel. Please. The original Dark Angels were dripped out in black, right? The ones that were its own chapter, in a way, not its own chapter. It was led by its own master, chapter master, whatever fuck at the time they call it. And his name is Lion. And his thing is like, all right, can we do something to like, you know, pay tribute to our home world of Caliban? And let's make our right pauldron green, like dark green, or left pauldron, dark green. Now, that was when the drip was all black, right? The fit was all black. However, when I can't. You know what? It's actually better that I might get this wrong because they don't want you to know the full story. They don't want you to know the full story. So they don't want you to know the real story, at least, until, you know, it's time to, like, I guess, be lobotomized if you do find out. Basically, Lion was given control over the Dark Angels subnet kind of faction binding group of men, the dark green versions. And he wanted to lay siege to Horus's, like, the bad guy's homeworld instead of defending Terra with the rest of the Space Marines, because he wanted Horus to fucking suffer as much as what he's doing to Terra. He wanted to do back to Horus, or Abaddon. Sorry. Dark green Dark Angels all went to that planet, to those two planets, and lay waste to them. And by the time they came back, shit was fucked up. And the original, like, leader of the Dark Angels, the all black drip, that motherfucker, he is so angry at the Dark Angels for sieging the bad guys' world instead of defending Terra. That whole faction of Space Marines turns evil. Like, that whole version of the Dark Angels are corrupted. And now, bro is a corrupted Chaos Marine, basically, I think. And no one knows that, by the way. No one knows that. No one knows that happened, because when the Dark Angels of the dark green color found out about this, I guess they lay waste to whatever it was at the time, or something happened where they didn't, like, none of the original founding chapters, or nobody found out except for the Dark Angels. And after the Horus Heresy, they labeled these guys as traitors, and I don't know if they're called frontiermen. No, that sounds so stupid. Ah, that's right. Of course, it was a badass name. They labeled them as the Fallen, not to mix it up with Destiny's The Fallen. These Fallen are traitors of the Dark Angels chapter, and was cast through the warp hole, whatever they fucking call it, the warp in their universe, so that basically they can't. So now they had to, like, basically go out into the universe and purge the Fallen from existence before their home world finds out, before everybody else finds out. And to this, dude, when I tell you they want nobody to know about this, guys, this is more of like a Raptors kind of camo, in my opinion. So they are so secretive about their chapter's secret, the secret of the Dark Angels. They will literally, all right, so they are allowed, since they are literally a part of the Codex, the Adeptus Astartes, the military faction that is the humanity's last hope, which is the, you know, space marines and all them fuckers. They're still jiggy with it, and they're like, yeah, for the emperor, duh, we love him. However, they will drop literally anything so that they can, like, let's say they're working with, let's say, an ultramarine and a blood angel. They will literally fucking, like, all right, so they're in a main mission, right? And they're like, okay, be advised, Dark Angel man guy, Space Marine, got word of an enemy fallen in the area, and they will literally drop everything, disappear from their squad or their group, deal with that, and how they deal with it. So, and they will come back like nothing happened. Think. Because, and then if, let's say, the ultramarine finds out about this, it's either we kill you right now, fast and painless, or we take you to our planet or our base of operations, and we will literally lobotomize you. What do you think about that? So basically, if you're not in with the gangsters of the Dark Angels, you better fucking not see anything. You better fucking not do anything. You better not. Oh, and their chapter master, the lion guy that I told you about, the guy who wanted the Dark Angels colors to be dark green, he was basically Gilliman, the Ultramarines chapter master, and literally Sanguinius, the blood angel himself. They were all three traveling together through it's called the warp, and basically that's just like a gigantic black hole wormhole teleportation place where it's like a big cloudy storm of pink and red energy colors, and it's basically powered by demonic powers, and like they basically found a way to like use that as a black hole to transport through space and shit like that. That's what the warp is, if I talk about the warp. Sorry. So that happening, Sanguinius during the Horus Heresy, while this was happening, because the Ultramarine guy, Gilliman, he was like, wait, what the fuck? We gotta get back to zero right now. And so when he found that out, Horus basically fucked everything for them and basically left them in an area where it was like, all right, how the fuck are we gonna get back home? So he found a way to have a transponder beacon thing through the warp, so to let other chaptermen know, like, hey, if you're lost, you gotta come to me, and we'll be good. Sanguinius was like, all right, I'll meet you at Terra. I'm gonna take a shortcut because this motherfucker is literally an angel who has wings, and he flies away through the warp in a different direction. And then Lion and whatchamacallit, Gilliman, they were chilling. Somehow I was listening. The Lion, he gets lost into the warp. He literally gets lost in the warp and is not. I don't know if that motherfucker's been seen since. This happened 40,000 years. Anyways, or 10,000. I don't know. Gilliman gets back and blah 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 blah. And everything happens in the fucking Dark Angels, and everything happens. So basically, to wrap it up about the Dark Angels, they are on a forever crusade to rid the universe of the Fallen, who are basically other Dark Angels from the Horus Heresy that fell to chaos and have become corrupted.